Hello, this is Christy Johnson, and I was asked to record, if I could, some remembrances I have of camp. I started to write this several times, but my skill of writing for very long is more difficult than it used to be. So I best record this in a way that I feel most comfortable. I love to tell stories, and I don't sketch very well, but I may have to make the use of a sketch pad here to record some things for you, and we'll take it from there. It's all about camp. I've been asked to write about or tell about camp because it turns out I've probably been there over a time period most often of all of us, and I seem to be very good at telling stories. So even John says I can go ahead and tell any stories I can, being John Hubie, because only I can share remembrances, and I can even tell stories and make up things if I want to. But I'm not. I'm trying to remember what I can. The Huron Indians have a saying that you listen to the voice of nature and it holds treasures for you. So camp has always been that for me. It holds lots of treasures for me. So I'm going to start off with telling you about the back porch. So here I go. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit so you can see what I'm sketching and talking about. So one of the interesting places to me about camp is the area that we know as the little screen porch. When I was a little child, this is the porch as it relates to everything else. When I was a little child, I used the porch took on a different kind of role than it does now. Now the porch that I'm talking about, you can peer over at what I'm sketching here. It occupies, like here's the west wall, and here's the north wall with the bathroom, and here is the north wall. There used to be tanks here to help flush it and collect rainwater, and you actually had to flush you could flush the tank. It was indoor plumbed, even though you had to go out to the now you have to go to the lake, but before we would just have rainwater. We had buckets everywhere because we were worried about fire, and we always have, because heaven knows you don't want to set the forest on fire, and that's something we're always afraid of up there. So the fireplace is over on this end. Okay. And this is where the couch normally is now. And here's the bathroom, and the two small bedrooms are here. And this is the kitchen area. This is the entrance door right here. This is the deck that got added on. It always wasn't there, but it got added on. And this is the large green pillar that's now there. Now, so this is a deck, so you can sit up there and eat. And there's the steps leading on. But this particular porch area right here was a screened-in porch. It's always been a screened-in porch. And it has a funny lock on it, the old kind of lock that goes with Jenny bar the door kind of stories. Let's see if I can find a color that shows better. So the particular bar, the lock, the leads a door opens, and it opens this way, and inside, when I was a child, the inside area was occupied by a very large ice box. It was about I guess about 4 feet long, and it stood about 4 feet high, or maybe 3 feet high, but it seemed huge when I was a little girl. But we used to carry in blocks of ice and set that in there, and that would keep things cold for as long as it could, because it was way down low. But we put things we wanted to keep cold in there, and it slammed down hard, so you had to be very careful when you went in there. These are all screens in here, but they're always, like there is now, posts in between, or hopefully they're still there. And then there were rafters that went across, and that one of the memories that I had is that we had that ice box, and we had a little swing that sat up kind of like up in the rafters, and I would take it down on rainy days, and I would swing back and forth, and I'd push my feet over to this wall, and then push up this wall and went here. Now you understand that porch is only at the most about 4 feet wide, so when I was a little girl, it went thump, 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 and I could look out at this swamp, because that was over here. Now there's different things that happened over the years to this particular porch. First of all, we got a different, smaller ice box, so we got rid of this. Also, this started to leak, so we had to put a new floor in it. So anyway, we got rid of this ice box, and so it became a large area, and we put card tables in here so that we could actually like eat in there. Now when John Huppy, who lived at camp for like a long time when her house was being built, she added some nice additions to this area out there. She put in a little table that had a little hinge set up at the same level as the windowsill, and you could put your wine glasses, salt and pepper and ketchup and all that kind of stuff, and then you could pull it out for dinner and then drop it down so it would be not in your way when otherwise, but it was good when one person sat out there. The other thing that she did, she noticed that when you sat out there, is that there was a lot of activity in the swamp by hummingbirds of all things, you know, little old hummingbirds, olive throat hummingbirds in particular, and they were very, very, very busy. They would line up on, I learned by watching them myself, that hummingbirds do flutter, but at one time I counted 18 of them at a feeder that John constructed. Now, this particular porch, remember, and as well as camp, sits up high, so you couldn't, if you wanted to have a bird feeder close enough to read or to watch, you had to put it up higher, right, so that you could see easier. So she devised a technique or a scientific experiment. She built something that helped it along. She put a hummingbird feeder on a long string, and she attached a pulley to the ceiling of it and the ceiling of the porch, and then she would lower the bird feeder down, fill it, and then put it back up. And with this, she was able to have the bird feeder right at eyesight. So now we can sit and watch the birds out there. And people have been known to take all the furniture that there is out there and actually enjoy sleeping out there. They put blow-up cushions and they like to sleep on the porch. I used to like to sleep on the porch too. Mostly I always slept in the bedroom closest to the kitchen because I was very sickly as a child, and I had to stay nice and warm and cozy all night long, so I heard lots of noises from being sleeping in that room. I heard beer and deer, and I heard my dad rattling and starting a fire first thing in the morning, so I was the first one to get up. So we start off with a magic screen porch, which to me is where the ice box goes and the swing goes back and forth,